Out on the West Coast, Farhan Lalji joining us here. Farhan, great job. CFL Draft the other night. Main takeaways from the draft from you?
Well, I think, first of all, I love what the Riders did. The fact that they got Ali Saad, I know Lapo felt he was the best D lineman in the draft, just loves how active he is. I thought he was good. I thought, they've got Eric Anderson, who is from Western, the offensive lineman, that, I think, he might not be the most pro-ready guy today, but I think he's got a huge ceiling and could be a starter by as soon as 2026 in my mind. And who knows what happens in the Curtis Rourke front, right? If they wind up landing him at some point. So I thought they did a pretty good job. But overall, what was interesting to me was just how the positions in the draft have changed in terms of what's important to teams now, right? I mean, usually you could just book the fact that linemen were going to go high. And every year we would talk about it, but we would get to drafting, we'd get to the floor, and you'd still get like 4 of the first 6 guys were linemen. And that didn't happen this time. We got 2 in the first round, a couple in the second round. It just wasn't deep that way, but they were really good value at other positions, and teams took advantage of that.
Elgersma, also, I think a great pick by Winnipeg. Do you like that one as well?
I do, and certainly he's going to be available a lot sooner than Curtis Rourke is, right? I don't think that Taylor Elgersma is necessarily going to be in the NFL for a long period of time. I know he's got the mini camps with the Bills and the Packers, and I know there is some concern that he'll probably miss like about a week and a half of his first CFL training camp, but, it's not like he's in the mix to play this year for the Bombers as a starter, but he's in a great position where he can work behind Zach Collaros. I think his arm is very good. It's more than good enough to play in this league. I think accuracy is sometimes a concern for Taylor, and we'll see how that looks when you're having to play against much faster defenders. But I think he's got a really good ceiling. He's got a good head for the game, and he's not going to beat you running, right? He's not going to extend plays, but he can throw the football.
When you look at the Rourke brothers, where they are at the same time, their same age, how do they differ? Because you know them well.
Well, there's no question Curtis is a much better passer of the football coming out of college than Nathan was. Nathan's a better athlete and runs the ball better than Curtis did at this stage of his career. So, they're different, right? But when you look at Curtis, he certainly fits the NFL prototype, especially the older school NFL prototype. And in the NFL, there's always going to be a place for a pro-style passer, which is what Curtis is, right? So he's 6'5", legitimately, and has that arm. So, and I think he's in the perfect system, right? I really think San Francisco is an awesome spot for him. What the Shanahan-McVay offense offers is a guy with his skill set to succeed. And it's a group that has some stability, right? So Shanahan and John Lynch, even though they struggled last year, I don't think they're going anywhere. Ownership has their back. They've got each other's back. So they're also guys that will do what they did with Brock Purdy. What, the guy that's a low pick is showing us great things? Yeah, we'll take him. So I think they're 2 entirely different quarterbacks. Nathan can throw the ball as well as Curtis can now in terms of velocity, but coming out of college, there's no question Curtis's passing ability is much farther ahead than Nathan's was at that time.
Did you get anything from the commish, being so close to him that day? I know you know him, but anything you can tell us?
Just an enthusiasm. I've been through 4 commissioners on day one now, right? So just to see that level of excitement, and everyone's got their own set of priorities, right? I mean, when Randy came in day one, it was really important for him to make the pie bigger, right? We're not going to excel as a league if we're only going to be dealing with Canadian economics. So we've got to find a way to make this, a global league and do all of those types of things. So while it may or may not have worked, that was the intention at the time. It was get to 10 teams, and it was create some global markets and just that excitement, right? Whereas when you look at Stu, he's all about what the product is going to look like and trying to engage a younger audience, and where can they go in this ever-changing broadcasting landscape, and how can we deliver it differently to our consumers and to younger consumers. So just the excitement around that, I think, is a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in action.
Shift to hockey. Since the last time we talked, Tocchet not coming back. Surprised at all there?
Yeah, eventually no, but initially yes, right? When it happened, at the, when they were going through conversations, I thought it was going to get done. I thought he was going to find a way and they were going to get him back here. But when it got into the weekend and it still wasn't done, then I started kind of having some pause. And, I did communicate with him a little bit, on it. And I knew that a lot of things that were on his mind. And, I also think that there's certain things that mattered to him that the club couldn't address. You can't assuredly say that Quinn Hughes is coming back in 2 years and is going to sign another extension. You can't assuredly know what's going to happen with Elias Pettersson. And those that it wasn't just all about that, but ultimately it wasn't about contract because the team was willing to come up and give him the term and the dollars that he wanted, maybe even more than that. So it was about a number of other things, and I think it's a big blow for the franchise. There's no doubt about it. But like I said, as we got into the weekend, then it became less and less a surprise as to where it was headed.
Is there somebody internal that you think's earmarked maybe for that job?
I know that Manny Malhotra internally is going to be part of the conversation, right? So he was an assistant previously, and then he was the head. This year, he's still currently the head coach in Abbotsford, as they're currently in the American Hockey League playoffs. And I think Manny would be great. I have no doubt he would come in and do a good job. However, are they willing to go with somebody who hasn't been a head coach at this level yet? And really hasn't been a head coach that long, even though he has had time on an NHL bench with the Canucks and the Leafs. So I know Peter Laviolette is also one of the finalists. I think that would be interesting, just kind of given his fiery personality and where he's at, right? He's kind of almost become that John Tortorella, Mike Babcock type of guy that's just been through a lot of franchises now. And, you wonder if the message still resonates, but he is certainly going to demand a level of accountability. And then there's some others that, are in and around the Penguins organization that have a relationship with Alvin and Rutherford. Jay Woodcroft, former Oiler head coach, I think is going to be part of the conversation. And I think he's going to earn a second opportunity here at some point. I got a lot of time for Jay. So I think those are some of the names. But in terms of internal, really only Manny. I don't know that Adam Foote gets considered for this job, but and we'll see where they go with Manny.
Does Jim Rutherford just need to stop talking for a while?
No, come on. We can't have it both ways as media, Barney. You can't sit here and say, boy, we wish guys would be more candid and honest, and then turn around and say, why is he saying so much? I like his honesty. I don't like guys that just want to BS the fans through the media. So he's putting it out there. And if that part of that is tempering fans' expectations or making sure they have real ones, I think that's okay, because I think this organization is going to be in for some hurt for a while here. You can't just wind this back and call this the one-off, given the change that's come out of it, right? Like if the Canucks had just had a bunch of bad guys, having guys with bad seasons, and they were going to bring the band back together next year, you could say, hey, what was the real Canucks? The 23-24 version or the 24-25 version? Well, now neither are going to be the 25-26 version. So, if you're a fan of the Canucks, be ready for some pain for a while.
There you go. You heard it here first. Oilers advance. Like, after the first two games, book it. Book Vegas, probably, and Los Angeles meeting. Oilers somehow do it, Farhan.
Yeah, and if you're Jim Hiller, you got to be really kicking yourself, right? Because this series turned on that challenge, right? On that goaltender interference challenge in Game 3, which they just never should have challenged. And they had the Oilers where they wanted them. And, they scored and it was a tie game. Okay, well, you got to live with the tie game and move it forward. But he got greedy, and immediately they scored, and immediately the series tilted, and the Kings could never get it back. They had their foot on their throat, and they took it off. So, and so is this Oiler team good enough to do what they did last year? I don't think so. But, last year I didn't think they could get that far, and they just got better every series. So maybe that happens again. Who knows? I mean, they sure showed depth scoring in the last two games. So we'll see if they can ride that.
Imagine if we're talking in 2 weeks that Calvin Pickard is taking the Oilers to the Western Conference Final.
Not buying it. But look, I didn't think their goaltending or their defense was good enough to get them anywhere near the conference final last year. Yeah, they got the two best players on the planet, but there are other holes, and those are still there. So can they pull it off again? I guess anything's possible, but I don't see it.
I know. That's the thing. It's like, I want to bet against them, but I swore after last year I wasn't going to do it. And Quinton Byfield, too. Like, all you had to do was get the puck out.
Yeah. No kidding. No, you're right.
He's got to live with that all summer. All right. I know you're a busy guy, and always great to chat quickly on a Friday. Take it all in this weekend. We'll see. Jets St. Louis tonight will be a great watch. That's heavy hockey.
Go Jets. Let's do it.
Right on. Thanks, Farhan.
See you, buddy.